Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm Scott Carson, your host. Glad to be here with you today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dropping in and joining the Note Guy here today. Today's episode, I thought I would share some of the craziest real estate stories that have happened to me on some of my real estate deals over the last 15 plus years. And it was funny. We had our fast track training this weekend here in Austin, Texas. Some great people. We had Eric Hyde, Gail Villanueva, Wiley Gregs. We had Dominic. We had Joe Kennedy. We had Joe Tomko. And we had Scott Brown join us as well. So we had a really good group come and spend a couple days with us. But we had to talk about some of the craziest stories that we've had happen to us over the last few years. I thought, well, you know what? This would be a great podcast episode to talk about some of the stuff that has happened to us that has kept us going, I guess you could say, or things that did not deter us from finding success. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Glad to see you guys out there. Hi, Roy. Hey, Laura. Good to see you guys. So I think that, honestly, the first story I wanted to start off with is literally the first really house I walked into as a real estate investor. Now, as a true investor. So I, like many people, have gone to many expos, many conferences. And one of the things that I went to a lot of was I went to a lot of Ron LeGrand events, right? Ron LeGrand's great about talking about wholesaling and options and yellow letters and pre-foreclosures and door knocking, right? And so I went to one of his first events out in LA. I come home and I said, I'm going to send some letters out. All right. So I write up 50 yellow letters, if I remember correctly. And I was also working as a mortgage broker at the time. So I was also sending out letters to people trying to get them refinanced, those that had financed or had a new mortgage 5 years earlier. And so I sent letters out to this group for the mortgage business. Then I also pull up 50 yellow letters, the whole hey, my name is Scott Carson. My wife and I would like to talk about buying your house at such and such address. Please give me a phone call, right? So I driven around the area, pulling those addresses and things like that I, looked distressed. Oh, I send out 50 letters. Well, lo and behold, about 3 days later, I can remember it. So I'm actually on a Sunday afternoon. I'm sitting at my house doing something. I remember I was watching football or something like that, but it was kind of cold and chilly outside. Phone rings. Lily's cell phone rings, and we had a landline, and it showed Walmart payphone. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Walmart payphone. And so I answer the phone. There's this lady on the other end. She's like, hi, is this Scott Carson? I'm like, yes, it is. How can I help you? She's, well, I got your letter. I'm like, oh, great. Woo, a letter. Awesome. She's, yeah, I got your yellow letter. Can you take this down? Or can you got pen and paper, write this down real fast? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, my address is this. Can you come by like 8 o'clock tonight? I'm like, yeah, let me ask you some questions. Well, I don't have time because my payphone's about to run out here. I don't have an extra change. I'm like, okay, fine. She goes, when you come, knock on the door, ring the doorbell, then go stand by the garage. And I'll come out and get you from the garage. I'm like, okay, this can be interesting. And so I do that. I'm all excited. Like a couple hours. I jump online. Like many people are like, oh, let me jump in county records, see who owns it, how big the house is. And it was a big, 4-bedroom, 3-bath kind of house, 2-story, one of the big square, like KB Homes is known for building on almost a half acre. I was like, oh, it's in a cul-de-sac, the end of the cul-de-sac there. I was like, oh, this could be pretty good. Figured out what she owes. I see there's a first, second in county records, how much in taxes are owed. And so I get all excited to go see her at 8 o'clock. So I get my paperwork, the things that we like to do with my paper packet with a rehab cost. I make sure my camera is charged so I can play room to take photos. I'm all excited to walk over and be a real estate investor. So I pull up. It'd been a little icy outside. It was November. Pull up to the house, big house, park my truck, get out. I go ring the doorbell, and suddenly I hear all these dogs barking. Okay. I'm like, oh, she got dogs. She told me she had dogs, but it sounded like there was quite a few dogs in the house. All right. So I go stand by the garage, and suddenly, about a minute later, I hear somebody come out, door open, and somebody press the button, and the garage door start to open up. And it is like something out of a sci-fi movie. I'm not joking about this. It comes up, and I see a car's parked in there. I see all these trash bags, and as it rolls up, it reveals that this garage is just full of black, hefty trash bags, a car, and against the back wall, I can see just shelves and shelves of like paperback romance novels. And here out comes this lady. And the lady was about, 4.5 foot tall, 5 foot tall. about 4 foot wide. And she goes, "You Scott?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." And she reaches out, "Hi, my name's such and such. Well, follow me." And well, she turns around. And this is, first of all, let me just paint the picture a little bit more. It's cold outside, and this wave hits me. The wave of trash has been sitting around too long, mixed in with, you can see dog feces in the garage, and this like faint urine smell hits me. And I literally is making my stomach right now kind of churn a little bit because I picture the hair standing back in my arms here. So I'm like, okay, and that's what hits me at first. Lady comes out, okay, she doesn't look too dirty. She turns around to walk in. She's wearing these like elastic, like khaki pants, and they are split right down the middle. It was a little windy, and they're just flopping in the wind. Luckily, she was wearing underwear. But that's the fun. Like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. So I come in, and the smell hits you. I'm like, oh, just thinking about it right now. I walk in, and and there is just trash everywhere. I mean, that's not like a typical hoarder where there's like roof to ceiling, but there's just dirty clothes everywhere. She's got a couple couches. I go to sit down, and there's just dog crap, dog shit everywhere. And she's got not 4 small dogs, 4 big dogs, like 2 German Shepherds, a lab, and some mix. And they're all excited. They come over. I'm like, I'm just, I like dogs. You guys know I like dogs. But I'm a little, okay. So as there's a spot in the couch that she clears some stuff off. There's these, I guess, clean clothes or dirty clothes just laying everywhere. I plop down and I'm picking around. Now, if you can get beyond all the crap that was everywhere, all right, it wasn't a bad looking house. It had some nice upgraded cabinets in the kitchen. I can see, but as we get to talking, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really down with that. I used to own 4 houses, and I had all this money, and I brought in this guy who moved in with me, roommate, and he was into drugs. We got into drugs, lost it all. The cops were trying to arrest me because I'm driving without a license. Every time they see me, they pull me over. Been arrested like 5 times I'm just listening, but that's giving me time to look around. These dogs are coming up to her." House was Remax ready. It's funny. Roy Johnson, good post. Todd Beer says, "Been there, done that." Awesome. And so these dogs are coming up to her, and they're literally just licking her in the face. They're licking her in the mouth, and they're rolling in their own shit. And I'm looking around. There's carpet, and the carpet is just yellow, kind of squishy a little bit. But the paint, you look at the walls, and they're about yellow, about a foot up from where the sheetrock has been absorbing the dog urine, or the dogs have been overlifting their legs in this house. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And I find out talking to her, she's like, "Oh yeah, the water hasn't been on in 4 months. We have power right now, but I haven't had the water on at all for 4 months." I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And the dogs are trying to lick me, and I'm just getting more and more. You can imagine the feeling. So I said, "Well, I need to get up and go around and take some photos of the property." I said, and she's got this big backyard. I'm like, "Well, you want to take the dogs?" "Oh, no, I don't let the dogs outside. My neighbors are out to get them. Neighbors are out to get them. They're trying to shoot. They're trying to poison my dogs. So I keep them inside." I'm like, "The freaking dog." She's like, "It's too cold outside for my dogs." I'm like, "Your dogs have fur, all right? It's not that cold outside." Yeah, swallowing down breakfast, exactly. Thanks, Steph. So literally, I'm walking around taking pictures. She doesn't want me to go to the bathrooms. This is the most disgusting thing in the world. I'm like, I got to take a picture. So she opens up one bathroom. She's got 4 bathrooms, and basically she had stopped. She was using the toilet until it had gotten full, and then she was putting all her other things, excrement, in these Homer buckets. And there's like 4 full to the brim Homer buckets of just trash and toilet paper. Ugh. And it was like that in 3 of the 4 bedrooms. We got upstairs, her bedroom. She had a big bed, and there was styrofoam dishes, and it was just a nasty house. It wasn't true. It wasn't the worst hoarder house I've ever seen, but it was just nasty. We get downstairs, like, okay, let me see what I can do. World Savings at the time was the mortgage company on this. I said, let me see if I can reach out to them and try to do something. But I'm going to need to try to get a short sale. And I was going to explain what a short sale was. and see what we can do. She's like, well, I walk away if I got 10 grand. I'm like, okay, we'll see what we can do. So for the next 6 months, I'm literally trying to work a short time. I'm literally sending in the photos. They were scratch and sniff photos. You know what I'm talking about? Getting an asset manager on the phone. They're finally like, no, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. Not doing anything. So the ladies call me on their payphone once a week. Get anywhere. I'm like, no, I haven't gotten anywhere. Finally, I had to call. I said, look, they're not going to budge on this. They're where it's at. I guess the other 3 houses you had that were, they just not going to budge. She's like, oh, well, darn it. So I wish her well. So, kind of give up on it. Well, 6 months later, I get a phone call from World Savings, and it was the asset manager on the other side. And he's asking for a Mr. Diaz. I'm like, well, no, I'm not Mr. Diaz. I'm Scott Carson. I go, what happened? He said, well, we're trying to contact the buyer of this house because the borrower has deceased, has died in the house. I was like, oh, crap. So that's what finally came up. That was one deal I was not successful at. And I was glad. That was my first. But I remember driving home that night. Literally, I said, hey, I pulled in the garage, closed the garage, stripped down, and I basically threw most of those clothes away. Took a immediate hot shower like twice to get myself feeling better. But literally everything I wore, I literally just threw away in the trash immediately. So that was the first ever thing. And the thing that kept running through my brain was when you hear Ron LeGrand talk, he likes to talk about how the smell of shit and piss is the smell of money. So I'm going through this like, boy, there's money everywhere here. So that was one of the crazy stories. Now, another crazy story was on a multifamily thing. And you guys all go to your local RIAs. I was going to a local RIA here in Austin, and there's a guy gets up in the front of the room and says, hey, I got a deal. I got a multifamily deal. I'm like, okay, where's that? He goes, it's not here in Austin, but it's down in Corpus Christi. And that piques my interest. I'm like, oh, Corpus Christi, that's where I grew up. Let me think about this. So the guy talks about it's like 29 doors over like 5-6 properties, a 9-plex, a 5-plex, a 4-plex, and some duplexes and triplexes. Says it's worth about 1.1. Their offering price is $550 is what they want to sell it at. I'm like, oh, that's not bad. 50 cents on the dollar for 20. Well, let me think about it. So I remember I got their info packet. I'm not going to say who it is because that guy is still here in the local market. And I get home, I'm looking at it. I take it to the office the next day. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm often feeling like, you're like, oh, it's a great deal, but I just don't have the money, so I'm not going to make an offer on it, right? Anybody ever felt that way? Like, oh, I don't have the money. I'm not going to make an offer. So I go in and I'm talking, people I was working for, my mentors at the time, Bob Leonetti and Jimmy Kaler. I'm like, well, just make an offer. If it's a decent deal, make an offer. I'm like, really? Like, okay. So I did a little bit more due diligence. I called a couple of my realtor buddies down in Corpus Christi. And for those that know, my dad owned the local hardware store in Ingleside, which is right across the bay from Corpus. So I knew all these contractors. I knew all these painters, all these vendors that could help. And so when my realtor came back with comp, she's like, oh, yeah, altogether, it is probably worth about 1.1, 1.2. And in the packet, they said, oh, it only needs about 10 grand worth of work to get everything completely ready. I'm like, 10 grand, that's not bad. That's pretty cheap. Probably some paint and carpet, we good to go. So I'm thinking about this, like, oh, I really like this, but I don't have the money. And the beautiful thing about this deal is it really helped me overcome my fear of raising private capital. Okay. So here I am, I'm looking at an asset or 29 doors that's worth 1.2, 1.3 based on comps. They want $550 for it. That's a pretty good spread. I know the vendors. I know in the area. I'm not worried about some fix and flip stuff because I know that stuff. So I was like, okay, so I'll make an offer. So I make a lowball offer. I send it in at 500 grand. 500 grand, send it in, email into them, and then the guy calls me back. Says, okay, we got your bid. We're waiting for bids throughout the weekend. We'll call those that are whoever's winning on Monday. I'm like, okay, great. So that was on like a Thursday or Friday. So Friday afternoon, I spend just calling. I make a few phone calls. I'm calling people that I met, business cards at expos. Anybody that I'd met, I'd kept them all in a database, Excel spreadsheet, people that I knew that were investors. And in literally 3.5, 4 hours of making phone calls, I had 5, maybe 6 people, if I remember correctly, that were willing to fund the whole thing. They're like, Scott, we like this. If the numbers look good, everything turns out good, yep, we'll fund it. So in literally that time frame, because I didn't just rely on one person, because I made some phone calls, left messages. So, I had 6 people that were willing to fund the deal. They're like, oh, we like it. The numbers make sense. Great. And I said, okay. So fast forward Monday morning, I'm getting ready, not even thinking about it. Getting ready to go to the office, and the phone rings at like 9 o'clock, and it's the guy plus his two partners on. He's like, "Hey, Scott, this is such and such. You got a second to talk?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, all excited. You know that feeling? Like, "Hey, we like your offer, but can you come up to 515?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't have 500. Why not?" "Sure, I'll come up to 515. Like, "Okay, great. Awesome. Well, you're the winner then." I'm like, "Oh, great. Awesome. Awesome." All excited. And I go, "Oh, shit." They're like, "Well," I said, "I'd like to drive by the properties. I was planning on driving down this Friday. It's like a holiday or something, and take a look." And they're like, "Perfect. We're going down there this Thursday, Friday too. We'll meet the properties. We'll walk around, take a look at everything." I'm like, "That's perfect. I'll just sign the contract then." They're like, "Yeah." They wanted $1,000 earnest money and $500 option fee. I'm like, "Okay, great. We'll sign it once we take a look at it." So we get down there. So I'm all excited to go in and get my buddy Boyd involved to say, "Hey, you want to come down with me on this deal?" He's like, "Yeah." So Friday enough, Thursday night we drive down there. Friday morning we drive over to where the one of the places we're supposed to meet these guys at. We get there and they say, "Okay, great, it's perfect." So they in the packet they had pictures of each property that looked decent, right? They didn't have interior photos because it was been a lot. So we have this duplex, and from the outside, it's white wood, blue trim, looks pretty nice. When you walk into one side of it, it was like a fun house. The roof is draping, the floor is buckling. If you dropped a marble, it was split into 12 pieces because we'd be so confused on which way to go first. Cobwebs everywhere. I'm like, okay, this might be the one that needs the most amount of work. We go to the next door one. It's about the same, unoccupied. Okay, so then we we take a ride to the car, go to look at the nineplex. And this thing had a lien on it. And I ain't talking about a mortgage on it. It actually had a lien on it, okay? We get there. The doors are cut off at the bottom to go in so they can close the doors when they're going upstairs or downstairs. There's dead rats in the stairwell. We go into each room. It's vacant. They don't have like copper fittings or even any type of fittings. It's basically a PVC straight up valve, turn on off valve for their hot water, cold water. I'm like, okay, this is looking like crap. It just gets worse. I'm like, okay, this is a lot more than 10 grand to get this thing occupied. Then we go to a triplex, which is occupied with tenants in it, but it was like a slumlord. They didn't have the full, you look at the stuff, they got the little small stove, the half stoves, and it's all rusted out. And you walk behind the copper pipes are all rusted. It's like a match away from exploding. And we get to about halfway, 3/4 of the way. Well, we get the last one. The last three properties were duplexes and another triplex. They were in good condition, pristine, rent ready. They were good to go. They were in good condition. And so one of the guys asked, "So what do you think of the properties?" Yeah, he's all excited. "Yeah, hey, what do you think of the properties?" Like, "Yeah, I don't think this. Yeah, I'm not feeling this one." And I was getting more and more red. My buddy Boyd was looking at me. He could tell I was getting a little stressed out. So we go to the last one. We decided to go to the Bill Miller barbecue. And then these guys pull out the contract. "Oh, yeah, we're ready to sign this thing." I'm like, "Yeah, no, we won't be signing anything today." And they get all mad. I'm like, "Listen, guys, no offense, but the packet you said when you sent it, it said 10 grand in work on it. That's not true. Some of these things need to be torn down." I said, "Do you have an insurance? Is there insurance on it?" He goes, "Well, we don't own it. We're just trying to sell it on behalf. We're trying to wholesale it on behalf of this person that owns it." I'm like, "Well, do they provide insurance?" "Oh, no, there's no insurance on these properties." I'm like, "Because they can't get insurance, right? So I'm not going to invest my investors' money in something is uninsurable and it's about to be condemned." And they got all gruff with us. And I'm like, "Listen, no offense, guys, we ain't doing this. I'm sorry, but you have anybody that came down and look at this asset would do the same thing." And they're like, "Oh," and Boyd's like, "Yeah." So we drive in. So I'm literally, we go. I run back by my mom's house, and then we head north to drive back home to Austin. And I'm feeling just absolutely like a dog with his tail between his legs. Because on the way down, we start figuring ways to get constructive, creative. Well, maybe we can owner finance some of these to the tenants and figuring the numbers in our head and we could sell that note off. And this is back years ago, okay? And I remember driving back, like I said, I'm just distressed, disappointed, get back up there. And then Monday morning, I'm calling my investors of 5 people that said they wanted to fund it. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's okay. Call us on the next one. Thank you for being honest." They're like, "Call us on the next one." And I'm like, "Wow. Okay, you're not mad?" I'm like, "Why would we be mad? Call us on the next one. Thank you for having our best interests in mind and we'll go from there. And so that was a very powerful experience for me. It was the highs and lows, and then also another high to realize, like, listen, the deals make sense, and I do my work. I got people out there that would be willing to fund. And so that was one of the most powerful lessons I could tell you is I did not let the fact that I didn't have $500,000. And one of the funniest things is when they called me that Monday morning, when they said the approval, I went in the office all excited, talked to my mentors, like, hey, are you going to write a check? They're like, we're not going to write a check. You need to get on the phones and start raising capital. And that was a thing that I'd like to tell students out there and those that are investing. Look, if you got a deal, get on the phone. Start calling people. Deal makes sense. And people can tell if you've done your homework and you're excited about the deal. If you know what you're talking about, a good deal, all right, a good deal will raise money, all right? And that was the thing. Based on everything I did, it looked like a good deal. When we got down eyes and ears on it, it was not a good deal. We didn't do it. We went on. So that was one of the second best deals, all right? The second craziest deals for the most part. I've had deals. I was doing a rehab in Salt Lake City one time that we'd had a roach problem. We, send in a bug bomb, go in there all, covered in the plastic suits, and I go and swing the sledgehammer to knock down a pony wall, and it just rained down roaches on me. I was telling everybody this is in the fast track today. They were like, oh, that's awesome. Not really. Because, literally raining down. It had the worst roach infestation in the county. It was so bad when we called the got junk guys to come out and haul the got junk off, they wouldn't touch it. They're like, there's too many bugs, too many roaches. We're not going to take anything. Came across a property. We bought a note on a property one time where there was a dead body in it, where the borrower had hung himself. I think it was in Dayton or Toledo. I don't remember, one of those two cities. The borrower had actually hung himself in the closet, and they found the skeleton on the floor there. And it's unfortunate. The house has been vacant for at least 2 years. At least 2 years. Nobody paid attention to the smell or whatever it was, but that's an unfortunate thing. Laura Blanc likes to share something here. She goes, the mindset was the biggest hurdle for me to get past. To make the offer and a good deal, we'll find the funds. Yes, Laura, thank you for sharing that. You've come a long way just recently here and getting over that mindset push, which is awesome. Good stuff. Glad to hear. I've done so many different types of deals that have been interesting along the way, deals that we've looked at that we didn't do. One of the ones that probably comes to mind is we found a property here for mailing out foreclosure letters. Got a phone call from a guy doing a property in the Zilker Park area, which is Zilker Park's like really nice area right off of downtown Austin, highly desirable. And then we go in to talk to this nice house, 2-story house, need a lot of work, probably about $5,000 worth of work, but it would be worth somewhere around $700,000. And he owed about $350,000. He's behind $20,000 in the bank. The guy was a local drummer, dreads all the way down to the floor. And he was living in it. He's like, okay, so let's do this. We'll buy the house from you, take it over subject to the financing. We'll give you $20,000 to walk away because there's a lot of equity. And we'll make up the rearage until we took it over. So we did that. We did it exactly that. And the beautiful thing, we had 30 days. So basically, I said, we'll let you stay in the house for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And while we're moving it, and then let you have a place to go, and we'll give you the $20,000 when we leave. When we're finished for you, get to move out in there. He's like, that's great, no problem. So 2 weeks go by, we got rehabbers coming in. We wholesaled the asset, actually. We found a local couple guys that really wanted to take the asset down, and they wanted to do the heavy rehab. And like, that's fine. And so we were able to negotiate a $50,000 wholesale fee on the deal. And that was great. What was funny is the guy that was living, he was selling off the cabinets and selling off other things, which is fine because we were planning on ripping all that stuff out, and we were fine with that. But it was just fun. We come in, there's people hauling up. We're like, what the hell's going on? We're like, I was like, okay, you're good with it. But so he was happy. He moved out. He got his $20,000. He didn't have the money to do the rehab. He didn't have the money to make it the $20,000 and the back payments to SPS, Select Portfolio Service, was who the lender was at the time, or the servicer. We made our $50,000 wholesale fee. The guys that bought the property from us, this is so sad because it had some really nice hardwood floors in this place, and it had basically a brand new roof from about 5 years ago. He sent his rehab crew, and they just trashed it. They ripped the roof off. They ripped all these hardwood floors out of it. mean, they ripped it literally down till there was just standing walls. That was it. And I remember the guy's name was Nick. And he left for a week and came back and found this all stuff. And it basically, he was so depressed. Literally, the house sat for about 6 months because he just didn't. That's not what as far as he wanted to go. Totally shot his budget to hell. And now he actually ended up selling the house, taking a loss on it to somebody else who came in and did the rehab. And last time I checked, the house was worth about $1 million plus now. But this is same thing we looked at. We were trying to identify. Do we go and do the rehab ourselves? Do we use hard money to take it down? And then when somebody came to us and offers a $50,000 wholesale deal, it was like, well, we'd end up making around a little bit more, but $50,000 for 2 weeks of work, let's do it. Let the heavy lifting go to somebody who wants to do it, because we hadn't done too many heavy jobs. So my buddy Boyd helped me out with that. We split that profit. That was a good day. That was a good fun month and a nice property that you can hang your hat on as well or stuff like that. So I know there's been so many note deals that have turned out. I bought a note on an 8-plex in North Carolina that turned out to be a working brothel. That was an interesting thing. Got it cheap bought the note from Wells Fargo Financial, very cheap. Ended up selling it, negotiating a payoff with the borrower. Seriously, it was a working brothel, hourly or daily basis, basically. When you see on that, we bought stuff. Bought a note, or was looking at buying a note on a double wide in Las Vegas. And when I saw something in Las Vegas, I was like, oh, great, Vegas, I love Vegas. And then when we sent the realtor by, he's like, oh, it's in a mobile home park, and I think it's a brothel too, because I drove by there. There were some kind of shady women hanging outside, and there's like nude girl sign in the window flashing. I was like, okay, we won't buy that one. We'll let that one go. Okay. But the funny thing is there's all sorts of different stories you're going to experience. Every deal you do is just got a different story unless you're just buying something, fixing, flipping for the most part. In the note game, every deal has a different story. Every borrower's got a different country western song. I mean, we have plenty of people that we've helped out in such great ways. Letters from people just absolutely bending over backwards, trying to work with us to make sure they stay in their house. And so those are some of the great stories that we love in helping people, really creating win-win scenarios for things. But you can't have the good without the bad. The juice isn't just the juice. The juice just doesn't taste as good without the squeeze. Okay, that's one of the things in mind. But we've tons of different deals, tons of different crazy stories out there. I could spend all day going through different ones, but I won't do it with that. So I will tell you this. If you had some crazy stories, one of the things that we're doing here, especially on the note deals, Shannon, our marketing intern here, is going to write up some stories and get them published. We're going to get them published for you guys. So if you got a crazy note story, a deal, owner finance, wraparound, non-performing or performing, if you've got a crazy story, drop me an email at scott@weclosenotes.com with the details of it, and we'll see about getting you published or having you as part of a series that we'll be doing here over the next few months as well. Crazy stories from the note land. So otherwise, guys, that's all I've got today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you're watching this on iTunes or Stitcher, take a second, share it, leave us a review. Love to see the reviews from people, what you like, what you don't like. We're always glad to do and glad to tweak what we do here at the Note Closure Show on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But otherwise, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, feel free to share it, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Have a great day.